Hello and welcome to Realms Edge Gaming. Now yesterday when we spoke we did say that we would be having a look at the Dead and the Divine, the online preview, and talk about some of the things that we saw, and it was a fantastic episode, it was a fantastic preview. So the article began by saying about welcome to the Dead and the Divine, our first online preview of 2021. It goes on to say about over the next hour or so we'll be showing off some incredible reveals for Warhammer 40k, Kill Team, Adeptus Titanicus, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Underworlds, and just one last surprise, but you'll have to stay in tune to see what that is. It says then to go and grab a drink, fix some snacks, something with garlic in, which kind of hints towards the vampires that were shown off today. So I've kind of skipped the 40k part because they were the first three game systems that were shown for. And I went towards the AOS. Now, as soon as we had those first three being for 40k, it did make me think, oh wow, it's going to be something big, because normally the ones at the end, the reveals there, tend to be kind of a bit more impressive, and I wasn't disappointed. So the first thing we were shown was this, and it was all about the mortal realms and how Teclis has a plan to end the soul wars, but he's going to need a little bit of help. Yesterday we discussed how the next book in the Broken Realms saga is going to be Teclis, after the Marathi one that we've just had. So the video then kind of goes on to show some models in silhouette, and there were some that we didn't actually get to see. So we did have some of the leaks, which were the Hurricane Chargers, which were those kind of llama, kangaroo looking beasts, which I suppose this would have been a part of had they not been leaked. But we were shown the Severeth, which is Lord of the Seventh Wind. And these were the models that we were shown. And they look fantastic. Yesterday when I kind of did my predictions, I did say that this part I believed was going to be part of the wind range, the wind temple for the Lumineth, and this part did prove correct. I just think this model looks absolutely fantastic, and I will definitely be adding them to my Lumineth collection. I really like how when Adam and the other presenter were talking, they kind of even mentioned about how like there was a missing arrow there where it had been taken out by the character. I think they kind of said that this would be part of a unit as well, so it wouldn't just be kind of like a solitary model. I really like the kind of eldritch fire that they've got there, how the banner kind of flows into the kind of hurricane, and I like how the earth's even moved upwards there. I just think it's brilliant. I think it's a really well designed model, and yeah, I think they'll be awesome on the tabletop too. So hopefully they will be released in the not too distant future, especially with book 2, the front cover of it for the Broken Realms being shown to us. And it says Archmage Teclis is also the cover star for the next book in the Broken Realms saga. The narrative sees the Lumineth Realm Lords taking the fight to Nagash, and after this epic clash the mortal realms will never be the same again. Can the purest light of the Lumineth break the dark curse of death? Now, when they were talking about this, they came up with like a really interesting point, and it was how the light of Altharion. So Altharion was actually killed by Archon the Black in the end times. So I think that'd be a really, really kind of cool story arc to revisit, with the light of Altharion and Archon the Black being present for that. And in this kind of part of the preview, they actually gave us a bit more information on the Warhammer community webpage, because they told us the next armies that are going to be present in the book. So we are going to be finding out a little bit more about the Lumineth Realm Lords, Cities of Sigmar, Maggotkin of Nurgle, Flesh Eater Courts, and the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So I think that is going to be brilliant. I don't really know how Cities of Sigmar and Nurgle are going to fit in, but I can definitely see how, the Flesh Eater Courts, Ossiarch will do. We'll have to wait and see. And that kind of leads me to think about Ossiarch Bone Reapers definitely kind of tying in with Archon the Black as well. It was interesting that there was no Legions of Nagash mentioned in that, but we will have to see how that unfolds. It goes on to say that there are also war scrolls for a swathe of new Lumineth Realm Lord units, including some that we saw earlier in the week. and unique battle plans that allow you to play out some of the battles to kind of let the narrative unfold. Of course, Teclis isn't going to have everything his own way. Marathi will see to that. So, after claiming to have achieved apotheosis during the opening gambit of the Broken Realm saga, she's ready to unleash her forces in a fresh assault upon the mortal realms. So what better way is there to begin such a campaign with a new battle tome? So we get not only the Lumineth Realm Lords and the Book 2 of the Broken Realms, we also get the Daughters of Kain, their next battle tome. Which kind of adds in all the detail that has kind of unfolded so far. And it's really interesting to see that this is actually still considered an Order battle tome. So nothing has changed with the status of the Daughters of Kain. Remember that Order doesn't necessarily mean good, but I just found it interesting because there was a lot of talk on the internet how the people thought maybe they'd get rid of kind of Order, Chaos and Destruction and Death factions and it would change slightly, but that hasn't been the case. So not only do they get their battle tome, it kind of reminded me of the release to some extent of the Sylvaneth. You know how they received receive the battle tome. They also got their endless spells too, very similar to that, because Daughters of Kain also get 3 new endless spells. And it says, if you like your magic dripping with blood as you cast it across the battlefield, and frankly who doesn't, then you'll love the Bloodwreck Viper, Bladewind and the Heart of Fury. Now these look awesome and I can't wait to kind of have a go at maybe adding these to a bit of a conversion project that I have in the works. This Hand of Kain looks phenomenal. I really like the blood effect, and that serpent as well looks awesome too. So it says the battle tome and endless spells come out at the same time as their sworn enemies, the Hedonites of Slaanesh. So will you side with the bloodthirsty murder cult of serpent assassins or the bad guys? It's just interesting that you think that the bloodthirsty murder cult of serpent assassins aren't the bad guys, but such is such in the world of Age of Sigmar. And then we went on to the Warhammer Underworld's Dire Chasm. A deadly new warband is drawn to the living war mountain, but can they control their hunger long enough to claim glory? I won't play the video, but it's well worth a watch if you've not already seen it. And it's the Crimson Court, and these were amazing. These, when we first kind of got the Soulblight Gravelord, that first one with bats in her hair or their hair, this was kind of much more how I envisaged the vampires to be, the Soulblight to be. And this just kind of reminded me so much of the Warhammer Fantasy with, you know, the Von Carsteins and also the Blood Dragons. Whoever has painted the armour and the cape and just, you know, the models in these warbands in general have done such a good job. And I really hope that Warhammer TV do a kind of painting tutorial that does this justice. Not just to kind of battle ready, but to kind of parade ready, because it's amazing. I love the kind of skull emblem there. The swords, the cape, the whole thing, the pose is just stellar. We've got this model here, which we've already seen. This one, they were talking about how like there's kind of arrogance with the models. I really like one of the comments that was made about how like there's like kind of nothing more arrogant than having like a hole in your armor where you can see your chest, so it's not actually covering his whole body. And how they were talking about how the size of the kind of the battle mace there just shows how strong they are. You know, it's kind of something you'd imagine that it would take a couple of men to lift, but it's just one man that's actually doing so. And then we've also got this one here, which is kind of a more bestial creature, and it was kind of to highlight what happens if the vampires don't drink. And this was actually a mechanic that they discussed. So when you play with them in the Dire Chasm game, apparently there's a mechanic, a hunger mechanic, where you kind of get rewarded for being really aggressive and killing other models, and kind of you start to lose control of them if you don't. So it says below, the warband's all about aggression, and it comes with heavy penalties if you don't control their hunger. And when we say control their hunger, we don't mean with a sandwich. And this was the final reveal. This was the kind of surprise one. My prediction wasn't quite correct yesterday, if you've seen that video, but we are getting Warhammer Quest: The Cursed City, and it was epic. So, speaking of vampires, an epic new Warhammer Quest game brings even more bloodsuckers to the mortal realms. So, if you and your friends have already defeated the Silver Tower and the Blackstone Fortress, you'll find an exciting challenge ahead as you embark on the most dangerous quest yet, into the cursed city of Ulfenkarn. So it says here, with a revised and refined rule system and models that you've never dreamed of, we're going to stick our necks out. Not usually a good idea in Ulfenkarn, and say that the new Warhammer Quest might be just the best game in a box that the fine folks of the Warhammer studio have ever made, and they've made some corkers. So they then go on to show us a couple new models, the Vampire Hunter Jelson Darrick and the villainous Gorslav the Gravekeeper. And it says that there'll be much more to be revealed over the coming weeks, but they've actually got a dedicated website for the game. So this was one of the models that was kind of shown to us on the New Year's Day preview. Loads of people kind of imagined that it would be a kind of witch hunter, vampire hunter. I kind of imagined that it might have been part of a faction, but you know what, if it kind of does sell well, maybe we will see like an Order of Azir, Cities of Sigmar kind of style witch hunter kind of faction in the future. But they did kind of go on to say that this is a kind of stake gun, that the stakes were cut from trees from Akshi, so when it does hit the vampires it does burst into flame. I really like the way that it's kind of been painted in a gritty kind of grimdark style. The pose of it is brilliant, and if you watch the video you can see a silhouette, so there are a number of different kind of witch vampire hunters that are shown in silhouette, so hopefully we'll see more. I just think they've done a cracking job with this. It reminded me of the kind of old Mordheim figures, but with the kind of stylisation turned up to 11. The design team once again have knocked it out of the park. And the other model was the Gorslav one, which is kind of like a really kind of gruesome, gritty, I think it's like a kind of grave digger, gravekeeper here. And I did spot one of the rumour engines, which was this hook. I know I'd kind of predicted it to be the kind of nautical soulblight, but I'm not disappointed with this model at all. It's brilliant, and I will definitely be looking out for a bit more of the Warhammer Quest in the future, in the coming months and weeks ahead of us. It will be interesting to see how these fit into the AOS game. I'm really hopeful that they will have kind of rules that in order allow you to actually put them into AOS factions, because I would love for them to kind of join the armies that I've got. I'm not sure how it worked with Blackstone Fortress, whether or not you could do that, but I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to add them, because definitely in like kind of a death faction, and maybe the Cities of Sigmar too, because as I said, they're just stunning models to have, and it seemed too good to not have in an army as well. So hopefully we'll get some really thematic rules to go alongside them. I just thought that this preview show was absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic, and I can't wait for the coming weeks ahead of us where more is revealed to us. But I'd love to get your comments below. What did you think? Did you enjoy the preview? Was it kind of what you expected? Or was there something that you thought it was missing? What did you think? As I said, if you could drop me a comment below, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'd love to get your opinions. Thanks for joining me, and we'll speak soon.